October of 2013, we decided to go and chase the sun and moon once more.
You've been sleeping so long. Come chase the sun.
We headed for the Canary Islands for the start of a very special trip.
The fading sun.
Our first Saros.
The stars will appear in the darkening sky.
Well, here we are in Las Palmas, Gran Canaria, on the eve of our cruise on Star Flyer to see the hybrid eclipse of 2013. We're hoping for 44 seconds of totality. Fingers crossed.
Well, next morning the time had come for us to board one of the largest and most graceful clipper ships in the world. Moored proudly in the harbour, this 360-foot-long sailing vessel was a sight to behold. And we made the most of looking around the outside of the vessel, because for the next 15 days we would be sailing across the mid-Atlantic.
This is the vessel that's going to take us hopefully to see our 8th eclipse.
Tell you what's to be done, filled with love. Go chasing the sun. Chase the sun. You've been sleeping so long. Come chase the sun.
So we'd set sail from Las Palmas on an epic journey westwards for the distant shores of Barbados in 2 weeks' time. In between us lay the mighty Atlantic Ocean and our rendezvous on the 3rd of November with a very special type of eclipse. Known as a hybrid due to its starting as an annular eclipse and then becoming total as the moon's shadow touches down on the Atlantic and races across towards Africa. We would attempt to intercept it midway across the Atlantic, where the moon's shadow would be a mere 30 kilometers wide. We were travelling with around 150 other passengers, many of whom were part of an eclipse expedition as part of the Betchart Group and the Planetary Society, and as such we were with other like-minded eclipse travellers from all around the globe. And we'd been joined by a friendly pigeon, lost on his way from the Canaries. He was going nowhere. With all the food and attention, he became a familiar sight on the voyage. Well, after another perfect day, we watched as the now thin crescent moon did its dance around the rigging, as the sun set into the ocean, once more without any sign of a green flash. We were just a couple of days now from our appointment with the total eclipse. Well, next morning we were up before dawn and were greeted by a sight we were not pleased to see. The sails had been stowed away and the Star Flyer was running its engines in a moderate swell under a heavily laden sky. The movement of the ship was much more pronounced than we'd had all trip, and it was not looking good for eclipse viewing in just a few hours' time. Anxious passengers, ourselves included, paced the deck and tried to get a GPS signal to confirm whether or not we were where we needed to be on the centre line for the eclipse. Well, it seemed we were correctly positioned for the eclipse, but also situated in unsettled skies. This was so unfortunate and such bad luck, given the previous run of near-perfect days leading to this point. There was only one thing to do, and that was to run for our best chance of getting a patch of clear skies. It was all systems go for a last-minute course adjustment. The rainbow had shown us the way. As first contact approached, we had found our hole in the sky.
First contact!
Eager eyes donned protective glasses and filters all over the ship as we were treated to the early stages of the eclipse. Too early to celebrate yet though, as the ominous clouds were still lurking close by. But the eclipse was on, and we were making our observations. It was looking better all the time, and behind us we were treated to another rainbow. There was surely hope for us now, as on other eclipse expeditions this has always been a fortuitous sign. With the Star Flyer still under power, the captain and first officers steered a path to give us the best possible chance of seeing the precious seconds of totality. With the light of the sun slowly being eaten away by the moon, we prepared ourselves for a last push towards a clearing in the sky and waited. Totality was almost upon us, and together on the decks of the Star Flyer in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, we stood transfixed towards the fading sun as the moon's shadow now raced towards us.
It's coming out. Coming out. Oh, and it's going to the clouds right now. Woo! Keep climbing.
That was amazing. They always are. So that was touch and go,
I know, but it was beautiful.
wasn't it just divine?
Too short.
Yeah, I agree. But wonderful to have seen it.
Beautiful to see, and so glad we've seen it.
Well, that was fantastic, reminiscent of '95 when we saw it through a hole in the cloud. Same thing this time, a little bit shorter, but a divine eclipse. Fantastic.
So, what did you think of that then, Jill?
Amazing.
Your first eclipse?
My first eclipse.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Especially the diamond ring.
Fabulous, wasn't it? So, what do you think of your first eclipse then, Joe?
Pretty good.
While as we glimpsed partial eclipse through the clouds, it was time to celebrate with the captain and key organisers of the voyage that had delivered the goods. As the entourage made their way to assemble on the bridge, the champagne was already flowing, and under partial eclipse we toasted to the great success of seeing totality in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean through a hole in the clouds. They were one happy crew, and so were we. We continued to watch the moon pass over the sun for another hour or so, and the Star Flyer had once more hoisted her sails, with the exception of the top gallant that had been damaged in the squally conditions prior to the eclipse. That weather was now a distant memory as we resumed our course for Barbados, propelled by the warm trade winds. We watched for fourth contact, which occurred just before noon. So it was mission accomplished, and despite some high excitement, things had worked out just fine in the end. And as we looked at the noonday chart, we could reflect on just how fortunate we'd been to have seen such a fine and rare eclipse in one of the most remote parts of the world. We were very grateful indeed.
Well, that was a really successful eclipse for us, and our first Saros, the first eclipse we saw, was 1995 on October the 24th, and exactly 18 years and 11 days later we had the same Saros series today, 143. So we completed one Saros cycle, and we were very lucky to see this eclipse today. But what a wonderful eclipse it was, and what a great experience to sail across the Atlantic with such a wonderful vessel.